How you going? How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today? Good. And thank you for being here on time. Today, maybe a lot of people, they know what we are doing here. We are giving lectures, and we are lucky to have Andy today with us. And this is a very unique topic, actually. I am very interested. And I need to know more because this is actually the first time we are talking about this topic, technology, NFTs, a lot the AI. This is really very interesting. A little bit orientation. We will have around 3 hours lecture. There will be a 15 minutes break. And if you wish to pray, there is a prayer room exactly next to the reception entrance. And this is for ladies, and for gents, there is something in the ground floor. Please, if you didn't register your name that you are here, please do it, maybe also during the break, because there are some attendance certificate at the end of the lecture today. If you need anything, I will be in charge here, and I wish you very interesting lecture. Thank you, Marty, for being here, and also we thank Nikon. They are the sponsor of this lecture. Enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So first of all, thank you very much for HIPAA for having us all here today and putting on these lectures. Like Ms. Ola said, it is quite a unique topic, this one. I've spoken about it a little bit. Usually I give lectures on techniques and landscape photography and these known sort of topics that I can talk about, very specific things. What we're going to talk about today is a lot more of my opinions of what's going on at the moment with new technology and photography. So we're going to talk about what the future holds for photography and things like digital images, artificial intelligence. It's the buzz, I guess the buzz phrase at the moment. A little bit about VR and AR and also NFTs as well. So once again, thank you very much to HIPAA and thank you very much to Nikon as well, Nikon Middle East for sponsoring this and supporting this. So I'll try and keep it as much to time as I can. There is a fair bit to cover and I do anticipate quite a few questions from people as well. So feel free to interrupt me if we have a difference of opinion, which is fine on this topic. There is no right or wrong when it comes to what's happening in the space at the moment, but I will try and keep as much to time as possible. I do tend to talk quite a bit, so we'll see how we go. Okay, but do feel free to pop your hand up from time to time if you do have a question. Otherwise, there will be plenty of time at the end to ask questions, and like we said, there will be a short break in the middle. So. It is quite a new topic, so there's lots of different opinions and things to talk about. So the things we're going to cover: digital images, AI, augmented and virtual reality, non-fungible tokens, and then we'll go through some questions at the end. So before we talk about what's happening in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it is important to look at how technology or how tech has influenced photography already. Because you learn a lot by looking at what's already happened, and that's a good indication of what's going to happen in the future. So in terms of where we've come from with technology and photography, in my lifetime alone, there's been a huge evolution with digital photography. I remember when I first started learning, I'm not going to give my age away too much, but I learned on film, and my teacher in high school, I remember very vividly him saying, no negative, no photo. Okay? So this was when digital cameras were just starting to come out, and his opinion was no negative, no photo. He didn't really like this world of digital photography. He's quite a traditionalist, developing in the Lightroom and this sort of thing, and I remember him saying no negative, no photo. Okay? So as we move on, however many years since I was in high school, that opinion, I assume, even with him, would have changed quite significantly with this evolution of digital cameras and digital images. Okay? It's massive, it enormously changed the way we take images, the way we share images, the way we view images, the way we sell images, everything to do with photography. Okay? The great thing about digital photography is it's made photography so much more accessible to young people, to people all around the world, to the extent where, these days almost everyone can be a photographer. In the last 10 years, probably the biggest change has been, through sharing on the internet, but also in the way that we edit images or manipulate images, and especially things like digital blending. And for the last 10 years, probably the thing that's been talked about the most is, is that image photoshopped? Has that been photoshopped? You've photoshopped that image or something like that. That's been the biggest technological change in the last 10 or so years. Okay, this world of or image manipulation has really caused a bit of a divide in the photography community. So a lot of people don't like it. They're quite traditional. They like, one image, not very much editing going on. And then there's other people that have gone way down the other end of the scope and really like to use their artistic license a lot in terms of the images that they're creating. Okay. So where are we at the moment? These film cameras, 30 odd years ago, 20 odd years ago, they allowed us to take and print images. Okay, that's how photography was. Digital cameras allowed us to view these images immediately. Okay, so we could take an image and see it straight away. It really accelerated the ability for people to learn photography. So this is he's now 7, but this is when he was 5, taking photos on a phone. That wasn't accessible to me when I was his age. When I was 5 years old, there was no way my father was giving me his DSLR camera. It was never going to happen. Okay? Whereas now, children as young as 4 and 5 years old, he thinks he's a far better photographer than me. If you listen to him, he'll tell you everything about composition and light and where you need to stand and these sort of things. And I love the fact that he can explore photography. And he can get this instant feedback, and he gives instant feedback as well. But he can see the photos that he's taking. That wasn't accessible to our generation when we were younger. Okay? And it's really changed the way that we share images, especially now with social media. People are interested in taking a photo and sharing it straight away. Yeah? That's why so many photos now get taken on phones, because people want to do something with it immediately. There's this trend to really take a photo and share it almost immediately. Despite all the technology and all the technology that's happening at the moment, the basic fundamentals of photography haven't really changed. Okay? All the way back from when photography started up until now, we're still exposing a sensitive material to light. That's the core fundamental of photography. Image creation might change a little bit, and we're going to talk about that, but photography has stayed the same. So even in things like iPhones and smartphones, shutter speed, aperture, and ISO, it's still the fundamentals and the basics of photography. So the technology that's gone into some of the digital cameras and phones has just short-tracked that for a lot of people, and they don't need to think about it. And it's a little bit of a cheat code when you use something like a phone, but the fundamentals are still there. Okay. At the moment, a lot of this new tech is changing the way that images are getting created, and that's what we're going to talk about a lot today, is this introduction of AI, or artificial intelligence. And again, like it happened with digital photography and mobile phones and the internet, photographers are feeling a little bit challenged, and that's where things are at the moment, and that's why this topic is quite controversial, and we'll break that down a little bit today, so it isn't such an intimidating thing. The thing about image creation and AI is it's becoming so realistic that it's quite hard to tell at the moment what's a photo, what's been manipulated, and what's completely artificial. Okay? So this is not a photo. This person does not exist, has never existed. that took me about 8 seconds to create in AI. All right? That's not a real image. It's an image, sorry, but it's not a photo. So the thing I always tell people is, is tech your friend or is it your enemy? If it's your friend, it's making your life easier. If it's your enemy, it's creating confusion, making your life more complicated, making things more difficult. So is what's happening your friend or is it your enemy? When you start to understand how it works and how it might benefit you, you can become friends with technology quite easily. Okay? You can find out where it does become your friend. Okay? At the moment, I personally think, no matter what your opinion is on what's happening in the space, it's important to understand what is happening and how it might affect our industry or our passion or the landscape of photography. My advice is don't try and fight technology. You can have an opinion that you don't like it, you can have an opinion that you don't want to use it, but it's kind of fruitless to really try and fight it because it's going to evolve no matter what I say here today or no matter what we think. So my advice is to either accept it, work with it, or just accept that it's happening and don't let it affect your daily life. Too many people get upset and frustrated with what's going on, and there's no need to do that because it's going to happen anyway. Like my teacher back 25, 30 years ago that said no negative, no photo, and he was adamant that digital technology was going to ruin photography. I think it's been one of the most wonderful things in photography because young people and people all around the world can learn photography. Okay? So like I said, learn from what's happened before to prepare yourself for what will happen. This is my favourite slide. Okay? There is no right or wrong answer to where you sit on this scale. All right? My photography teacher back in high school sat down here. Photos had to be taken on film. Images have to be created on film. Okay? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I have some very good friends who still shoot on film. They love what film does. They love capturing images on film. They love developing their photos in a Lightroom. The fumes I don't enjoy. So, if that's what you enjoy doing, it's fantastic, okay? And if that's your passion, you sit down here, okay? As you move further up this scale, it depends how much you're comfortable with doing with technology. And I don't mind if someone sits down here or if someone sits way up here. I don't think they're wrong, and I don't think they have the right to say somebody else is wrong or what somebody else is doing is right. So people, the move up from film photography is some people just shoot in RAW and post their images unedited in RAW. They can claim that they don't edit their images, and I'm fine with that. That's not a problem. As soon as you start using JPEGs, whether you like it or not, you're moving up the scale and your images have been edited. You just haven't edited them. You've allowed technology to edit your images for you. Okay? So a lot of people say, I don't edit my images. I don't like images being edited. And they're posting JPEGs. You're not editing your images, but something else is. Okay? So you're moving up this scale already. You can do some basic editing of raw images in Lightroom, correcting exposure and these sort of things. Quite mild sort of editing, absolutely fine. Then people move up into moderate editing, and a lot of people say they don't like AI. They don't want to use AI. A lot of the editing that we already do at the moment already starts using AI. Okay, so if you're using Photoshop, you're probably already ticking the AI box. Okay, so a lot of people are at this stage where they're doing some moderate editing, removing things from the background or removing dust spots and these sort of things. Then we can have more advanced editing like layers and masks and composites and these sort of things. Then this is probably where I sit. Creating digital composites of my own images, so things that I take at the same time and blending those together that I'm quite comfortable with. And then there's a lot of people who have delved into digital art and generative art and completely artificial image creation, so putting things together that they didn't take themselves. That's not for me, but I have some friends, some really great photographers who do this sort of thing, and it's incredible, and I can appreciate the art that they're creating, but it's not necessarily what I like. And then there's people that want to go all the way into AI-generated art, okay? Which is also fine, if that's what they like to do, okay? But you need to decide where you're happy with and how far up and down that scale you like to move. I posted this photo last week, and in the caption of it, I was quite open to the fact that that sky was not that sky on that day. I took the photo of that sky the day before, okay? And did a quite quick and basic sky replacement in Photoshop. And I said that in the caption. I wasn't trying to hide that. And I posted it in my stories and explained to people how to do that and how very quick and easy it is to do. And the thing that I really wanted to ask, and I asked in my stories, was what do people think? Are people happy with manipulation like this if it's done subtly and it looks quite natural? Or do people not like it at all? Or do people prefer more radical sort of manipulation? The responses to I had quite a lot of responses. 75% of people said that they liked things like this, which I thought it would be a lot less than that, because my audience is mostly photographers. 75% of people said they like this level of photo manipulation. About 12% of people said they don't like it. They just want to stick with basic editing and no manipulation. And then there was about 14%, so more people than didn't like it at all, that said go crazy. Put in the Northern Lights if you want to do that, okay? This is the level that, I don't do a lot of sky replacement, it's not really my thing, but I wanted to do it just to see what people thought. I was really interested in, especially in the results. That's what it looked like, okay? Really bland sky shooting into the light, so everything gets blown out and looks quite meh, okay? Not too interesting, quite dull, quite lifeless. Nice photo, but the sky sort of ruins it a little bit. Okay, so I thought I'd play around with a photo I took the day before when the clouds looked quite nice, and change it into that. All right. So that's me sitting here. That's what I'm comfortable with. So what tech is available at the moment, and how is it being used? Certainly, the technology that's gone into cameras recently is incredible. Some of the new cameras that have come out recently, especially the Nikon Z8 and the Nikon Z9 before that, some of the autofocus and these sort of things that are going into those cameras is frighteningly good. Incredible sort of technology. The focus that goes into those cameras is also using AI. Okay, so they're embedding that technology into the equipment that we're using. Okay, the editing software that's available at the moment, it's almost becoming its own art form in itself. So people can take relatively bland images and turn them into something quite incredible. What we're seeing probably in the last 10 years, and it will increase even more in the next 10 years, is this rapid increase in the amount of content that's being created. Okay, the amount of images that are being created on a daily basis. In the last 6 months, this buzz of artificial intelligence has crept into photography. It's been around for quite a long time. We've used predictive text on our phone for how long? So AI is not new. It's just entered into photography, and that's why people are talking about it so much. And then blockchain's been around for a little bit, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So the first thing we'll talk about is digital images. When people think about digital images, they think about graphic designers making things like this. Okay, so that's a digital image. That's also a digital image. Okay, I took that a couple of weeks ago, and it's a composite of lots of different images. My tripod didn't move, but I didn't have someone standing there at the same time that I was flying a drone above that rock, at the same time that I was taking the Milky Way photos, at the same time that the moon came up to the left and created this beautiful light across the rock. They didn't all happen at the same time. I just happened to have my camera on the tripod for an hour and a half. And then when I went to edit it, I thought I'll get a little bit, I made a photo that's a little bit less dramatic, but I thought I'll get a little bit crazy and put all those things together and see what it looks like. Okay? So it definitely didn't all happen at the same time. And I took about about 14 photos from Lightroom, and I put them all together using different techniques, okay? Different technology. So what is a digital image? When we create a photo, we're not really taking an image per se, right? We're collecting a whole set of data when we're taking a raw file. So when we take that raw file, it's a whole lot of data that we then plug into our computer and it represents an image. Like I said before, JPEGs have already been edited to a varying extent. And then once we take our raw file, we determine what level of manipulation we're happy with. Some people just want to edit that single photo by itself. For me now, I'm sort of pushing more towards the, what can I do that'll separate the photos that I'm taking away from what someone can take perhaps on a mobile phone or something like that. So technology has challenged me to do something a little bit different to what I was doing years ago. Okay, so this here, I'm not going to call it a photo because I'd be quite comfortable with people arguing with me that it's not a photo anymore. This image here is a composite, okay? That didn't all happen at the same time. So I didn't get the light trails, the light, and the buildings all at the same time. They were taken over a series of about 20 to 30 minutes, okay? And then in Photoshop, I've put them all together. There's your raw file. One of the raw files, okay? And that's the end result, okay? So that's just a technique of digital blending and putting those images together in Photoshop. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. Another example, these things did not happen all at the same time. So there's a really long exposure of the water. I can't remember, it was years ago now, maybe 120-second exposure of the water, okay? A different exposure of the buildings to get that nice and sharp, and then a different motion blur exposure of the monorail going past. And then in Photoshop, quite a quick brush in of the water and a brush in of the monorail going past at the same time. Is it a photo? No, probably not. Okay, so digital images versus digital art. When does an image stop being a photo? It's probably quite subjective, and people have different opinions. Okay, my personal opinion might differ from somebody else's, but I think once we start bringing in elements that aren't from a single exposure, it ceases being just a photo anymore. Okay. And like I said, unless you're publishing raw files or film images, then your images have already been edited, and it just depends how far down that scale you like to go. Okay. There's a lot of traditionalists that really don't like the photos like that, and that's fine. And then there's a lot of revolutionists, if you want to call them that, that do a lot more extreme things in digital art. And these sort of things. So this photo here, taken by a friend of mine, certainly these things didn't all happen at the same time. They weren't even all there at the same time. So those different exposures didn't all happen while the camera was in the same place. Okay, and that's where he differs in his creative license to what I'll do. But the art form itself, I really love. Okay, I love how he does it. It's quite a divisive topic, and a lot of photographers get quite heated on social media and these sort of things, and get quite upset when other people post things that they don't like. For me personally, I believe that the artistic license belongs to the photographer or to the artist. So this is a really good friend of mine, one of the pioneers of cityscape photography in Dubai. If you don't know who he is, look him up on social media. Lives overseas now, but 10 years ago was really sort of pioneering cityscape in Dubai. These days, Daniel takes these sort of images. He travels around the world and he takes different photos from different cities in the world and combines them together in this really cyberpunk, futuristic, almost sort of Blade Runner type style. Okay. When I visited the Exposure Festival this year, there were some amazing exhibits. Daniel had an exhibit there as well with these sort of images. Yeah? All the young people that visited Exposure loved Daniel's exhibit. They said it reminded them of video games. Okay? So whilst a lot of people don't like it, the generation that's coming through love it. So was it a smart marketing decision? Probably. Okay. Where I draw the line is I don't like it when brands, hotels, and these sort of things use really photoshopped images to misrepresent their brand. That I have a problem with. They're not the artist. They don't have the artistic license, and they're misrepresenting something to their viewers or their consumers. That's what I have a bit of an issue with, because I find that a bit confusing. Okay, so are people happy with calling this a photograph? Yes? No? Yes? It's definitely not one exposure. Okay? So can anyone tell me the dead giveaway of why this isn't one exposure?
There is no reflection on the board.
The sky and the water are actually the same exposure.
The board is not moving. The board is static.
Yep. There's something else that's even more obvious.
The people.
Yeah. The people are static.
Yeah.
So how can I have a long exposure to the sky and a long exposure to the water if the people are static? Okay. So I've blended that together. Afterwards, I looked at it and I thought, oof, you know what I should have done? I should have done like a 1 second exposure of the people to give them just a little hint of blur, just to confuse you a little bit. But it isn't great to have had the people completely static. Okay. So I've used one exposure of the buildings and the people, and then I've just brushed in the long exposure of the water. Okay. So to do that in Photoshop, you can call it a composite if you like. But what I do, and what I do with a lot of images these days, is I'm taking multiple exposures while my camera is sitting on a tripod. Okay. What that allows me to do is take advantage of things that happen over time that I can't capture at exactly the same time. The Dubai fountains is a perfect example of that. So you might want to capture the buildings in one exposure, and then capture the fountains with a different exposure with a really high shutter speed and using a much higher ISO. But you don't want to use the high ISO on the Burj Khalifa and the other buildings because it'll introduce a lot of noise. So you blend in the fountains. Okay? So I'm taking lots of different exposures over 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So it allows me to do things that don't happen at the same time, and it also allows me to overcome huge dynamic range or different exposures. So I might want to do a long exposure combined with something that's quite short, or a mix of the two. Okay? It does require a little bit of a understanding of layers in Photoshop, but basically all you're doing is creating one image and then creating a mask of where you want to brush in, and then just brushing in that area from a layer underneath. Okay? And it's something quite fun to play around with, and it adds an extra element that you can have fun with your photography.
Can I ask the question?
Yep, fire away.
What's the difference between your manual blending and the automated blending of exposures?
So things like bracketing, do you mean?
Yeah.
Bracketing? Yeah, so I mean, almost all my landscape shots anyway, I'm bracketing exposures. So taking underexposed and overexposed images and blending them together, either in Lightroom these days with HDR merging is so fast and the results are so good these days, or you can use things like luminosity masks in Photoshops, and I'll do that a lot. What I can't do with that is blend in, usually blend in the really long exposure of something. So what I'll typically do is I'll take a set of photos of my main subject. So for example, in this case, of the rock features, I'll take a set of photos of that and do exposure bracketing, okay? And I'll blend them together, and that will become my base image, okay? In this one, I've taken a set of the rocks and the waves, and then I've taken a set here as well to have some focus stacking as well, because these were going out of focus. So I've blended those together. I've used a completely separate exposure, f22, of the sun that I didn't want to use for the whole image because it introduces too much diffraction and it wasn't the right exposure. And then another exposure, long exposure of the clouds. And then I've gone into Photoshop and I've blended those all together to make it look like one image. Okay? So those different things happened over a period of 20 minutes. Okay? My wife hates it because I'll sit there for hours taking hundreds of photos of exactly the same thing, which she can't understand. But for me, I love it. I really love it. I don't know. I'm sorry if it sounds boring, but I really do enjoy it. Seeing how the light changes over time. There's so many times that I'll want to change my camera somewhere else, and then I do that, and I should have kept it there because the light's changed, or something like that. There'll be times that I shoot cityscape where I'll sit there for 2 hours with my camera in exactly the same spot. Okay? There'll be other times where I'm constantly moving it, just depending on what image I'm trying to capture. Okay, so it's a little bit nerdy, but it's quite fun to do if you're that way inclined. All right, so probably the most interesting topic, and we'll have a break after this because it's quite a long one, is this topic of artificial intelligence, AI. That's what's being spoken about constantly at the moment. People generating these images artificially, and it's creating a lot of confusion. These two images look quite realistic, both of them. This one here I took in, I've got a pointer, I forgot that. I don't need to keep walking across. This one here I took in Rwanda a couple of years ago, a little baby gorilla. So flew all the way to Rwanda, hiked for hours to find gorillas and photograph them, which I loved. It was amazing. This one here I created in my office at home, sitting at my computer, and it took me about 15 seconds. Okay? Both look quite realistic. AI is getting scary good at replicating things. I think all I put in was create an image of a baby gorilla. Not even anything interesting, okay? But it's getting extremely good. Okay, so these are just other non-photographic images, completely artificially generated images, landscapes, travel portraits. So I put into AI, create the most beautiful landscape image you can, and AI put these out. This actually looks like a place that I've visited in Georgia. If anyone's been to Georgia, there's a place called Judah Valley. It reminds me a lot of this. Okay, in my head, I immediately thought of this place in Georgia. This place doesn't exist. None of these places exist. This looks like Jurassic World or something. I don't know what it is, but they're completely artificially generated. These people don't exist and have never existed. Okay, I just asked, create the most realistic travel portrait image you can, and that's what AI gave me. Okay, so what's happening with AI in photography? It's creating, in my opinion, it's creating a lot of confusion out there at the moment, a lot of disruption, but it's getting a lot of people talking about image creation, which might be a good thing. In my opinion, it's really important to understand what's happening and how it's happening, so you can have an informed opinion and you can see why things are happening the way they are. Are we already using artificial intelligence in our photography? If I ask this question, a lot of people say, no, I don't use AI at all. I'll explain soon, and you'll probably all realise that you're probably all using AI to some extent. Okay? Yeah. So is this a futuristic photographer or the future of photography? We'll see. Okay. So how has it already been used in photography? Some of the newer cameras, so if you're using something like a Z8 or a Z9 from Nikon, it uses deep learning AI. Okay, so things like the autofocus. How does it know when you say, I want to focus on a person, and there's people and an animal in that composition? How does it know to focus on a person? Or if you change it to animal or to pet mode, how does it know to focus on a pet or an aeroplane or whatever you tell it to focus on? They've used AI to train that camera to know what a specific subject is and to focus on that specific subject for you, okay? So it's not just anymore the capacity for them to autofocus. It's for you to selectively focus on exactly what part of an image you want the camera to focus on, okay? So you don't even need to subject track the subject that you want. You just need to tell the camera, I want you to focus on the person or the bird or the cat, and or the plane, and it will do that for you. Okay. This is probably the thing in professional level cameras that's going to get better and better and better and better. Okay? Will there come a time where we don't even have out of focus images anymore? Potentially. Will that take the fun out of it? Potentially. But yeah, I think it will get that good that the cameras will just autofocus themselves. Okay. What other features will AI enter into in cameras? Will you be able to auto expose more than just putting something on auto, but auto expose for long exposures and these sort of things a lot more than we can at the moment? Probably. Videography, in-camera editing, all those things AI will creep into in the next few years. Absolutely, without a doubt. A lot of editing software is already incorporating AI. Okay, so if you're using Photoshop at the moment and you're using something like ContentAware to remove rocks or a bird in the sky that you want to get rid of, or that person in the background that just walked through your scene. So I do a lot of ContentAware taking people out of photos. If you're doing that, you're already using AI. Software like Topaz, one of my favorite editing softwares, uses a lot of AI for things like the noise reduction and sharpening. And then if you haven't upgraded Photoshop recently, the new Photoshop updates are what's causing a lot of discussion in photography communities. Okay, so what they've come out with Adobe Firefly that I'll touch on shortly is a big dipping their toe in the water of AI. Okay. So the ContentAware tool, if you're not already using it in Photoshop, so that photo I showed before, the original had this sort of blurred out dog behind our main dog. I didn't want that dog there. It looks a little bit distracting. He's not in focus. It just looks a little bit unsightly. So it's quite quick and easy these days just to do a quick lasso around that object that we want to remove. And we right-click ContentAware. What Photoshop does is it analyzes all of the pixels around it that are painted in green. And what it's doing when it looks at those pixels is it's working out if that dog wasn't there, what pixels would have been behind it. What does it think will be behind it? Okay? So it's using AI to work out, okay, if the dog wasn't there, it would have looked like that. And it's filling in those pixels for me. Okay? I don't need to brush anything. I don't need to clone stamp anything. I don't need to pull pixels from over here and put them here. I just do a quick lasso around it and tell Photoshop to work out what pixels it thinks were behind that dog, and then we end up with a final image that doesn't have the dog in it. Okay? There's your final image. No dog. There was a dog there. Okay, so 2 photos of me. That one's the real one. That one's absolutely not. Okay? I've just used AI to edit this one. Okay? If I needed what's the app? Tinder or whatever it is, I'd use this one. Okay? A lot younger. This one looks like I've been traveling around the world taking photos and out in the sun too much. So all I did in Lightroom or Camera Raw is there's these neural masks, and you can use things in Photoshop as well. But I went in there, I can't even remember what I did. My eyes are so bad. I did some skin smoothing. So I thought, okay, I'll smooth my skin a little bit. That sounds like a good idea. I don't do this a lot. I did this more for the purpose of the exercise. But I thought I'll do some skin smoothing. That sounds like a fantastic idea. I can make myself look younger. I thought that is a really good idea. So I'm going to use AI to take some years off my life. You can make yourself look happier or sadder, or make anyone look happier or sadder, and the AI will do that as well. I just thought I'll make myself look a little bit younger. So facial age, I thought I'll push that to the left. I whitened my teeth a little bit. I thought I had too much coffee, so we'll brighten that up a little bit. I thought I'll thicken, add a bit of texture to my beard, thicken that up a little bit as well. I didn't make my shirt pink. All I've done there is to ask Camera Raw to select my clothing to make that a little bit crisper and a little bit whiter. and then it's selected the background as well to make that a little bit darker. So just in half a dozen clicks and using AI, we've turned that photo into that photo without any manual editing really at all, which is quite frightening. So that's what these apps like your Facetunes and these sort of things are doing quite quickly for people in a much cruder, faster, lower resolution way of doing it. But yeah, they are both photos of me, but one certainly looks a lot younger than the other one, a little bit smoother in the skin. Okay. This AI I do use a lot. Okay, so any image that I'm exporting larger than what I want to put on social media or anything that has a lot of noise in it, I use Topaz denoise a lot. Okay, if you're not using something like this already, the new Lightroom upgrade has an amazing AI-based noise reduction as well. So if you don't want to fork out the money for Topaz, the new one in Lightroom is quite good too. So this one on the left, it's my edited image. It was shot at quite high ISO. It was very, very dark in this monastery in northern India. So I can't remember, maybe 8,000 ISO or something like that. So quite a lot of noise in the shadowed areas. And I've just put that into Topaz. One click, denoise it for me. And it goes in there with AI. It works out what areas need to have noise reduction applied to it, and it does that for me very, very quickly. Okay. Like I said before, Photoshop or Adobe has really entered this AI market as well. The latest upgrade to Photoshop is Adobe Firefly, and it's a potential game changer in terms of the way people are editing images using Photoshop. At the moment, it's changing right now, but at the moment, you need to upgrade and introduce Photoshop Beta, which is one of the desktop apps, and it works exactly the same. And the biggest change that they've added is this generative fill. Okay, so using text-based prompts to fill something in on your images. All right, which is a massive change from what you could do on things in Photoshop. So it's almost, I call it a bit of a hybrid between fully generated AI images and post-processing your own photos. Okay, the important thing about what Adobe's done is they're actually using content from Adobe Cloud. So if you are editing your photos on Adobe Creative Cloud and you haven't unticked the terms and conditions box that allows them to use your images are contributing to the AI that other people have access to. Okay, and a lot of people don't know that. I don't really, it doesn't worry me personally, but a lot of people got quite upset about the fact that Adobe was using their images without their consent, but when they questioned Adobe, they actually did have their consent by the fact that they didn't untick that box. Okay. The good thing that Adobe has done is that you can look at an image and you can verify that it was or wasn't edited using this particular AI editing feature. Okay, so it will always be something that people can work out that you've done. So if you edit that, enter that into a photo or submit it, photojournalistically, then people can see that you have changed it. So the things that you can do with Adobe Firefly, the big one is generating objects, so introducing objects that were never in your photo to begin with. You can generate backgrounds or completely change backgrounds and make them quite realistic. You can very, very easily extend the edges of images, far easier than you could ever before, and you can remove elements a lot faster than what you could before as well, a lot more accurately. Okay, so when it first came out, these are from when the week that it came out, I started playing around with these features. It's a photo from, I can say a photo from Iceland. So I went in there and I selected the bottom. I forget the prompt that I put in. I think the first thing that popped in my head was change it into a beach. Okay, and Adobe took the bottom of it and changed it into beachy sand. Okay, quite accurate. If you didn't, it doesn't look too realistic because it doesn't really suit the image, but it could be potentially an island now in Hawaii or something like that that has beach sand instead of this gravel that you'd have in Iceland. Okay, so a little bit more realistically, this one is in Greenland. This is the image that I took and edited that I was quite happy with. But I thought I'll test this Firefly out, and I'll turn it into this. Okay? These cows never existed in Greenland. This area of the image, I can't remember what it looked like, but it wasn't this. It's all fake. So what I did in Photoshop, this is not an AI platform, this is normal Photoshop. I asked Photoshop to extend the edge. Okay? So I dragged the edge out to here and prompted a very basic prompt of extend the edge of the image. Okay? What it's done is it's analysed all the pixels that are in this entire image, and it's decided what it thinks would have been in this white area. Okay? And it created this. I can't remember, I've got no idea what this part of the hill looked like, but it wasn't exactly that. It's something else. Okay? AI has decided that. Then what I've done is I've created a little lasso selection. This is a really small selection. And I said, add a grazing cow. Okay? Photoshop's decided and pulled this cow out of Creative Cloud and different images that were put into Creative Cloud. It's altered the lighting and the color balance of that cow. And it's even merged it in with the grass. So for me to do this 12 months ago would have taken quite a bit of go and find the image, merge it in there, add the grass back in, make it look quite realistic. Photoshop's just done all that for me in one click. And then I just said, add another grazing cow. I thought, okay, add another one. 3, I like 3. Adds more balance than having 2. So we've added 3 grazing cows. We've gone from that to that in about 60 seconds. Okay? To do that 12 months ago, I don't know, it would have taken me quite a bit of time and probably too annoying to do it. I just would have cropped there and there if I wanted to post it on Instagram or something like that. Now we've got more of a 4x5 crop and these cows that add something. It's not for me. I wouldn't post this because it's got elements that weren't in my composition. So it's not my style of photography, but extremely easy to do and frighteningly accurate. Okay, so I started really playing around with this generative fill, and I said, add a, my eyes are so bad, add a thin layer of fog to this cityscape image. Okay, classic Dubai view. It's the view from Index Tower. I've been there about 15 times to shoot the fog, and it's never arrived. So it's my fog nemesis, this view. But I have an image in my head of what it would look like, and I thought, something like this, blue hour fog, which is Shangri-La view, but add a thin layer of fog. I wanted to see what this fog would actually look like if I ever went there and got the fog. That's what Photoshop gave me. Okay, so it's still a work in progress. They're not quite up to speed on Dubai fog, huh? That's not. I don't even know what this is, but it's not. I don't know. I guess you could argue it is a thin layer of fog somewhere, but it's certainly not from here. So I thought I'll test it again, and I said, select the sky and add a thin layer of cloud. I thought that's a pretty basic command for it to do. That's what it's done. Okay, I didn't say remove the most iconic building in the world from the skyline of this image. Okay, I said select the sky and add a thin layer of cloud. I thought, nice wispy clouds or something like that. So this AI, it's still a massive work in progress. Okay, and it's only as good as the information that we give it and the training that it's had. Okay, but it's not. It's even when you're using AI like ChatGPT, you can't rely on it for things like facts. All right, it's not accurate. It's a tool, but it's not accurate. So how else is AI being used in photography now? This is a really interesting one. Okay, this platform called Imagine AI. Next generation of editing. Okay, forget things like presets and filters and these sort of things. This works with Lightroom Classic, and what you can do is you can upload images onto Imagine, and the more you are, there's a minimum, I think, 3,000 images, okay, that you need to upload, and it analyzes your edited images. I'm talking about, so upload 3,000 edited images, and it analyzes your editing technique, and it creates a bot that understands how you edit photos. Probably better than you know how you edit photos. It knows what you're going to do before you know what you're going to do. Okay? If you want to skip the queue there are people that have already done that, and you can look through it and you can say, I really love that person's editing style. I'll let them edit all my images for me, and I'll edit in their editing style. Why would you want to do this? If I was a wedding photographer, this would have massive appeal for me. Massive appeal. Because I could upload tens of thousands of images over the last couple of years, edited images, and this program would understand my editing technique intimately. And then I could, if I did a shoot for a wedding and I had 100 and 200 or 200 images that I wanted edited, I just put them through here, and it edits them exactly how I would have edited them. Extremely accurately. I might edit some individual ones myself that I wanted to retouch or something like that if they were the hero shots from the wedding, but the other 200, that's why I never shoot weddings. The thought of editing all those images really depresses me. It scares me. I don't have any interest in doing this. But this potentially might change my opinion a little bit. It's a really interesting tool, and I'm keen to see how many people use it and how many people promote their own, their own profiles on this. Rather than things like, Lightroom presets and these sort of things that people did 5 years ago. How else is it being used? We can use AI to scan the internet for pixel recognition. So images, your images, it can scan the internet and find that image on the internet if somebody else has posted it. Okay? Why is that useful, or why might it be relevant? This image here that I took got used by somebody else online. There's companies that you can use, and you can send them all your images, and it'll just scour the internet, and it'll find the websites where people have used those images, and it'll just send them legal letters saying you've breached international copyright, you owe €350, there is no right of recourse because you've used it for marketing purposes. Please send the money to us. They take about 40%, which is fine, because you're getting back 60% of something rather than 100% of nothing. There's a lot of photographers that make a lot of money by finding images online that were illegally used or used without their permission or without their consent. Okay? A lot of the big photographers that you think probably sell images for thousands make more money recovering misused images than they do selling prints. Okay? It's quite easy for that company to do it, and a big company that might have used your image, it's going to cost them more to engage a lawyer to defend it than to pay the €350 that they have to pay for having used it. One that's relevant for me at the moment is your cameras have built-in serial numbers. Okay? AI can find any image that was taken by your camera if somebody else posts it online. Okay? So if you have a camera stolen, someone finds it and someone posts those images online, you can find it. Okay? So it's one that's quite relevant for me at the moment, but there are ways to do that. So there are websites that will do that for you as well. Okay, so how do we create images using AI? Let's go through this quite quickly, and we're going to cover things like, is this the end of photography? Do we throw our cameras in the bin? Okay, so how do I create AI images, or how do they work? Okay, people think that when you create an AI image, it goes on the internet, scours all the images on the internet, and finds thousands of images, and it mashes them all together like Play-Doh, and comes out with something else. That's how things used to work. The way AI works now is this diffusion model, and it's the AI platforms or the AI bots are trained on billions and billions and billions of images, okay, being shown to the AI with text-based prompts. The best way that I can describe it is very similar to teaching a small child how to talk. So if you want to teach a small child, you show them a picture of a ball, and you say ball. You say red ball. Show them a picture of red ball. Big red ball, small red ball, these sort of things. Exactly the same way that they've trained the AI. Okay? They've shown them images of ball and told them this is a ball. Big ball, small ball, red ball, blue ball. Big dog, little dog, pet dog, angry dog, biting dog, happy dog, dog eating, and built up their language through training. Because the whole preface of this AI is converting text-based prompts from us into image-based outputs. Okay? It's all language-based. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, training. So the biggest job opportunity in AI at the moment is for people to train AI. They're desperate for people to train AI. Probably quite boring, but training AI is a massive thing at the moment. Okay? These days, it's the complexity of your prompts that are determining the images that are output for you. Okay? So all I've said here, prompt, realistic picture of a dog. Pretty realistic. Yeah? Looks very similar to a photo, but that's created in about 8 seconds. Is this the end of photography? Absolutely not, in my opinion. In my opinion, absolutely not. Why? People still paint. Okay? Cameras came out. Digital cameras came out. People still paint. Paintings are still worth a lot of money. Potentially less people do it, which probably makes it more expensive to buy, which is probably a good thing if you're a good photographer, if less people are selling photos. But it didn't obliterate fine art. It didn't obliterate painting. It didn't obliterate thousands of different types of art forms. I think in the next 10 years, there's going to be a massive oversupply of AI-generated content. Everyone can generate images now through AI. You don't need to be a graphic designer. You don't need to be a photographer. You don't need to have any real artistic inclination, but you can create images through AI. In my opinion, this will make high-quality photographic images more expensive. Why? People will ask, is this a real image or is it a copy? Okay? If you can verify that that's a real image photographically created, in my opinion, that adds value to it. Supply and demand. The supply of photographically created images is probably going to reduce because more images are going to be produced artificially. And I still think a lot of people will be asking, is this a real image or is it fake? I only really want to buy real images. Okay? The Mona Lisa holds a lot of value, but only one copy of it holds a lot of value. The other 100 million copies of it don't hold a lot of value at all. All right? So in my opinion, it's not going to completely replace photography in the near future at all. Should I start, or should you, start creating images through AI? I think yes. But if you don't want to, that's up to you, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Some people say, I don't want anything to do with it, and that's absolutely fine. But I think by doing it, you get an understanding of how it works and how it might be useful to you. And I'm going to show you some real ways that I am using AI at the moment. Okay? It's up to you to determine how much you integrate it into your photographic life. Okay? You don't need to. I don't publish any AI images. I'm not interested in it. But I create a lot of AI images. Okay? There's a lot of ways to do it at the moment. There's apps coming out on phones and all sorts of things. There's all sorts of platforms that do it: DALL-E, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, whichever one you want to choose. In my opinion, this one, Midjourney, is the most applicable to photography. It's the one I use quite a lot. It operates through a platform called Discord that I don't really like. It's designed for gamers. I don't really understand it very well. I have a son that lives on Discord. He loves it. But for me, it's not a nice platform. So as soon as something else comes out that's more user-friendly than Midjourney, I'll probably swap over. Meta will probably do that, or Google, or Apple. The way Midjourney works is we provide, or the user provides, commands through text prompts. Okay, so we provide some sort of text instruction to the platform. AI then combines our text prompt with its bank of training, its content training. Okay, so on Midjourney you put in a prompt such as this: \imagine prompt, which is the command that you use. Portrait of a pet cat. That cat there has never existed. That's not a real cat, but it looks like a photo of someone's pet cat at home. Ridiculously realistic. If someone showed me that and said, that's a portrait of my cat, I'd say, okay, that's a nice looking cat. but it has never existed. It looks like a million other cats around the world, but that particular one never existed. Okay? The really important thing to remember or to understand with AI, if you are going to use it, is it's only as good as the content that it has had access to. So how much investment that platform has put into showing it content, the training that it's received, so the text image feedback that it's had over billions and billions and billions and billions of times. And the big one is the prompts that you provide it. If you don't give it the correct information, it won't give you a suitable outcome. The ones with the fog in Dubai, was that my bad prompts or was it their bad training? I don't know. I thought my prompts were reasonably easy to understand. But people really get frustrated when they don't get what they want because they think AI should be able to read their minds. Okay? It's not our intelligence, it's artificial intelligence. It can't read our mind. It's not a mind-reading platform. It's an image creation platform. Okay? One of the great things at the moment on Discord that you can do is you can go through and you can read other people's prompts and see what results they got. So if you see images that you really, really love, go and see what prompts they use and think, okay, that makes sense to Midjourney. That created a really suitable outcome. Okay, so I put in prompt, create an image of a futuristic landscape, and this is what Midjourney gave me. Futuristic or prehistoric? I don't know. Probably a little bit of both. Okay, it looks more prehistoric to me. I don't know what planet that is sitting up there, but these are just things I played around with. My son wanted me to artificially create him an image of Mbappe, his favourite soccer player. So he created this prompt. Mbappe scoring a goal, misspelt, sorry. AI doesn't care if you make spelling errors. Mbappe scoring a goal in the World Cup for France with the crowd and teammates celebrating. This is what Midjourney gave me. Prize for whoever can... Where's Tarek? Have we got a Nikon Z8 or something to give away for a prize, Tarek? Is that what we can do? Joking. But can anyone work out what's really wrong with that image? My 5-year-old spotted it in 5 seconds. I didn't. Huh? No. Much more obvious. Did anyone watch the World Cup? No. Anyone? Yeah. No. His number. Mbappe wears number 10. My son looked at this and in 5 seconds said, that's not Mbappe. Mbappe wears number 10. I don't want that. Okay? He wasn't interested in this. Okay? Other thing, his muscles might not look exactly like this, the crowd might not look like this, but he doesn't wear number 10. He doesn't wear number 7, sorry. He wears number 10. So AI is not always accurate. That's what Mbappe looked like, scoring a goal. I had to go and Google it. I thought, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I'm 100% sure. I don't want that. Okay? They've got him wearing number 7. It doesn't wear number 7 for France. All right? So it's not always accurate. It just makes things up when it doesn't know. Okay, so the way that I'm using AI at the moment is I'm actually using AI to create prompts for AI. It's a lot more effective way of creating images that are photographically relevant. Okay, so I use ChatGPT and explain to ChatGPT what Midjourney is and ask ChatGPT to create the prompts for me. And there's a copy-paste text that I use that I can't claim to have created myself. I got it off a good friend of mine, Shadi Al-Rafai. And what it's doing is this text that we put into ChatGPT, which is another AI program, it explains to ChatGPT what Midjourney is, what Midjourney does, and how it works, and what we want it to do. And then it goes through, I think, 10 examples of prompts that have created really fantastic images. And it goes into quite a lot of photographic detail. You can Leica cameras, Nikon cameras, specific lenses, image aspect ratios, and these sort of things. Okay? And it gives all these examples to ChatGPT. Then at the bottom it says, are you ready to start generating photo prompts? If so, respond with yes and nothing else. ChatGPT thinks about it for about 10 seconds. It says, yes, I understand exactly what you're asking me to do.
You need to do that every time you want a prompt from
Yeah, so you start a new conversation each time that you want a new prompt. Yeah, you can adjust the prompt once it's created it, but if you want to start a new prompt, and this only works on ChatGPT 4.
My question is, you need to explain to ChatGPT what is...
Yes, yeah, yep. Each time you want to do it, yeah, yep. If billions of billions of billions of people did it, ChatGPT would learn over time. But
So it will not create prompt by saying, provide me prompt or so on.
no, I put in the same text each. It's just copy paste. So I have it on a Word document on my desktop, and I just copy it into ChatGPT each time. It only works on the upgraded ChatGPT 4, unfortunately, which you need a
I have a
payment
question
for.
here. Do you think there will be analysis software which can analyze how deep
100%.
AI
Yeah.
generated?
100%.
You are using AI to create another AI, maybe after that create a movie from the photo as well.
Yes.
So there is a chain of AI
Yes.
software. So is there any analysis software which can trace all of them?
Yeah, I'll speak about that in a little bit as well. Yeah, 100%. Okay, why do I do this? The images that I get from this are more detailed, more specific, and for me, more photographically relevant. Okay, you're essentially training the AI to help you. So the first one I tested on, I said, I want to create a high quality photographic image of Dubai skyline using a Nikon camera. I went into Midjourney, and this is what Midjourney gave me. Technically, it's using a Nikon, well, it's not even a Nikon camera, I don't know what models these are. But technically there's some sort of device on there that says Nikon, and there's vaguely the skyline of Dubai in the background. Okay? When I use my ChatGPT to train, or use my copy-paste to train ChatGPT, I put in exactly the same prompt. ChatGPT gave me a different prompt to put into Midjourney. When I plug that different prompt into Midjourney, without adding anything from myself, this is what Midjourney gave me. Much more aesthetic. I looked at it for quite a while. I realized this image here, I'd have to go out into the Gulf to take it. It's way out in the water. It doesn't really exist as a skyline image, but I got really curious about how I might be able to create something like that. Go out on a boat. How would I set myself up? Creates a whole lot of new, moon shots and sun shots and these sort of things, but a lot more photographically pleasing than the images that I was getting from just Midjourney by itself. Okay, a really quick and easy thing to do. So that's what Midjourney gave me. That's what Midjourney plus GPT generated for me. Okay, happy to give that text-based prompt to anyone. Just drop me a message and I'll send it to you. You just need to copy and paste it into ChatGPT. All right. And I'm going to go through soon why I would do that. You might be thinking, why would Andy create images of the Dubai skyline? And just go and photograph it. Okay, so how can people, or how do people use these AI images? Do they hold any value? What do people think? Does an AI image have any value at all? I think not. But someone could pay for it, which means it does have value. So I'm not entirely correct. I would never buy an AI-generated image. I don't think it holds value for me at all. Okay? I wouldn't encourage other people to buy an AI-generated image. It doesn't make sense to me. Copyright and ownership. When you create an AI image, you agree to their terms and conditions, okay, of the platform that you're using. You don't own it. You don't own the rights to it. You don't own the right to sell it. If someone buys it off you, more fool them. But you don't own. You can't stop somebody else using it, or somebody else selling it, or somebody else doing whatever they want to do with it, because you don't own it. You didn't create it. Very different to a photographic image, where if you press the shutter, you own it. Very, very, very different. Okay? Hugely different. So for me, my humble opinion, I don't think they hold any value at all. Okay? Here's another perfect example of AI getting it horribly wrong. Probably the most iconic sports number of all time. Michael Jordan. He wore 23. He never wore 22. Okay? I have no idea how even AI could get that wrong. There must be billions of photos of Michael Jordan wearing 23. So they don't. It looks exactly like Michael Jordan, but he never wore 22. He wore 45 for half a season, but he never wore 22. Okay, so how do we use AI? Where are people going to use AI, and how do I use AI? I think a lot of people are going to use it for stock image creation and content marketing. Okay, so if I was taking photos just for stock, I'd be nervous because I think this is where it's going to replace a lot of photography and a lot of content marketing. So if a brand needed a image of a coffee cup sitting on a table, it's pretty easy now for them to create that via AI. Really, really easy. Much easier than engaging a photographer, organising a coffee cup, blah, 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 and taking a photo, having it edited, having it sent to them. They can create that in 10 seconds now using AI. So I think that sort of stuff absolutely is going to replace it. Curiosity and imagination. That's me. I use it a lot for that. And then I extend that into mood boarding, storyboarding, communicating with models, set designers, and these sort of things. That's how I'm using AI-generated images. Okay? And I'll go through that. A lot of architecture and a lot of graphic design. People are already using it a lot for influencers and these sort of things. Entertainment, people just think it's fun. Okay? Not everyone's as serious about image creation as we are. People think, I don't care, I'll just create it artificially. I don't care if I create a unicorn that's, walking down Shakeside Road. That doesn't worry them one bit. The big worry is this one, fake image creation and malicious use, and I think this is a massive, massive, massive problem at the moment. I don't know how many people saw the images of, the ones of Donald Trump getting arrested. I can understand that's kind of amusing a little bit, but the ones of the Pentagon that was shared across Bloomberg and Reuters and these platforms of the Pentagon getting bombed, that's not at all funny. When people shared that, stock markets crashed, and for me, if I had a relative working there, it would be quite traumatic. So people shared these AI-generated images of events that didn't happen, and news outlets shared them because they looked so realistic. Okay, so the ability for people to scam and create voices and create images of people that aren't real is a massive concern, really, really huge concern, and that's where AI and we don't sit 100% comfortably with each other at the moment because of this. I have a big issue with this. Okay. So how can photographers utilize AI-generated images? How do I utilize them? So reference images and inspiration to create things like mood boards. So previously I'd use social media or Pinterest or something like this if I wanted to create a mood board. So if I was having workshops and I wanted to communicate to local people in a different country what I want to set up for photographers, what sort of traditional dress I wanted people to wear, what sort of other things I wanted brought in, or if I was doing a shoot in the studio or with models, or if I just wanted to create a mood board for a brand. I'd go and find reference images from all over the place and take a really long time. It's quite frustrating to do. Now I can do this with AI, okay? I also like looking at some of the AI-created images and working out, could I create that composition? Could I use different techniques? If I came to a similar sort of landscape, how would I manipulate things to create a similar sort of composition? So new inspirations. Previously, there's this habit in photography of seeing other people's images and getting inspired by that. But what you end up doing is actually, even subconsciously, copying what somebody else has done to an extent. Going to where that person has gone, trying to take the similar photo to what that person has taken. Once you see it, you sort of can't unsee it, unfortunately. Okay? What AI allows you to do is look at different images that have never existed. So you're not copying anybody else, really. Okay? So I used my copy-paste into ChatGPT. It said, yes, create a photo shoot design using a Nikon Z9 camera capturing authentic Arabian people and traditions. Okay, pretty basic sort of a prompt. This is what ChatGPT gave me. Authentic Arabian market scene at dusk. I won't go through it all. Bustling crowds, spices, old buildings, etc. Captured with Nikon Z9, 35mm lens, f1.4 for depth and detail. ISO, low lights, blah, 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 blah. Shutter speed, aspect ratio. I didn't say any of this at all. AI said that. That's what it gave me. I don't know how many people have been down to Albusta-Kia, but you could create this in Albusta-Kia. If you got a permit, you could have people in exactly that sort of dress. There's carts exactly like this down there. There's stalls exactly like this down there. So if I was mood boarding for a short film or a brand photo shoot or something like that, I'd quite happily send this as a reference image to a designer or to Dubai Media Office or to Al Fahidi to say, this is what I'm trying to capture. I'm not copying somebody else's photo. AI has given me this inspiration of what I want to capture. Okay, this doesn't exist. This isn't anywhere. This, it might as well be in Aladdin. It's completely made up. Okay, so I asked a similar thing. Create a visually appealing image of a small Bedouin camp in the desert. This is a very typical thing of what I might set up for a workshop or something like that. In the desert, so spelling mistake, it doesn't care, of the UAE with a single tent, campfire, 3 local Bedouin men in traditional clothing and camels with sand dunes in the background. That's what it gave me. Okay? I can speak a little bit of Arabic. My Arabic isn't fantastic. If I wanted to communicate to Arabic-speaking people, I can now communicate visually and say, this is what I'm looking to, this is the image that I can say that, this is the image that I'm wanting to create. Okay, I don't need to go into the extreme detail. It gives them an idea of what I'm looking to create. Okay? There's some errors. They've got the rope of the tent going into the campfire and this sort of thing. But things like this, you could easily create this sort of shoot in the desert of Dubai. Yeah? Without too much difficulty. But it gives you an idea of what you're trying to create, and you can show other people what you're trying to create. Okay? The great thing about Midjourney is you can also see what other people are creating. So there's my images down here. That's the top of that one there. The one that popped up before it was this one. Someone had put in National Geographic of something, and you've got this apocalyptic image. As I was scrolling down, I thought, that's quite cool. I quite like that. So you can see these other images. Where might I use something like that? If I wanted to have an apocalyptic scene, I could take that image. I could go into somewhere like Garage Studio that's got a massive screen, and I could put that image on the screen, and I could put some foreground elements and some people. I could use that exact image without breaching any copyright at all as my background to an apocalyptic scene inside a studio and create an image out of that using that as my background. I haven't breached this person's copyright. He doesn't own the image. I've just borrowed it. Okay? So I can either use it as inspiration, or I can literally use it as a background on a huge screen to create an image inside a studio. So these are the images that I might send to people to communicate what I'm trying to create. Okay? Again, like they've got the tent rope going into the fire, so I'd probably avoid that when I set the scene up. Okay, so different examples of what I might create in the studio. These really futuristic shoots, all completely fake, created by my very short prompt, expanded into a much larger prompt using ChatGPT. So I did a workshop in Mongolia recently. These are the images that I created on Midjourney before I went to Mongolia. Okay, I'd seen different images of eagle hunters, the Bactrian camels in the sand dunes, but the people I was communicating with, I said these would be really cool to try and create similar sorts of images to these, and I shared them with the guests that were coming on the workshop. We're not taking anyone else's photo. We're not copying somebody else's photos. We're not breaching anyone's copyright or stepping on anyone's toes and upsetting anyone. These people never existed. That never happened. These camels never existed. I put in prompts like, create a landscape scene in the Gobi Desert of Mongolia with Bactrian camels and sunsets or whatever the case may be, traditional Mongolian gurs, traditional Kazakh eagle hunters, these sorts of prompts. Okay, there's some of the edits that I did yesterday or a couple in the last week. Different photos that we actually took while we're in Mongolia. Okay, so it's quite easy to communicate with the people that were setting up these shoots for us what sort of things we were hoping to photograph, especially these ones with camels, where you've got a whole caravan of camels traipsing through the sand. You can't really yell out across the Gobi Desert. We did have little walkie-talkies, but it's much easier to show them beforehand what you're hoping to create. Okay, so very quickly, what's next in AI? Adobe is bringing out something new, Project Gingerbread. Sounds like a kid's cartoon or something like that. And it's using 3D modeling and text prompts. This is something that we probably won't use to a great degree in photography, but it's going to impact image creation a lot, especially if you're a graphic designer or something like that. I think it's going to replace a lot of the need for those image creations. It's going to be added to Creative Suite quite soon. Super customizable, so you're using these 3D generations to create your images. There's a platform called Infinigen that's coming out as well. Really hyper-realistic text-based video. So that'll be the next evolution of AI. There's quite a few different variations of this, but this is probably the one that I think is going to be the largest player. It's powered by Blender, which is a really high-end graphics system. It uses data creation based on real-life images to create synthetic elements that then it inserts into videos. The technology behind this is incredible, and the fact that it's going to be available, to general public is mind-blowing. What people will be able to do with this in 10 years' time. So it's basically going to do the same thing for video that things like Midjourney are doing for images. How are other people, consumers? So if you're doing, any influencer photography or social media photography, how are people going to use AI? Lots of people are already using it for, personal entertainment and this sort of thing. People use, Facetune apps to edit themselves, or Snapchat to, have filters and these sort of things. There's a platform called Kyber AI. That's just kind of a fun one that people use. You might have seen this on TikToks and these sort of things. And you take a photo like this of a guy standing. To me, it looked a little bit apocalyptic. So I put in a prompt: futuristic apocalypse survivor overlooking the ruins of a city with his camera in hand. What it does, I don't know if it'll play. Hopefully it will. It turns that image into a video immediately. So people are using this for content creation. Not my thing, but if you're into TikToks and these sort of things, ridiculously easy to use. I had to subscribe to it, and I remembered the other day I need to cancel my subscription because I have never used it. Okay. There are platforms like this one coming out where people can upload single photos or a couple of photos of themselves, and it will create images of them in different locations. Okay? I don't see I don't know, maybe people do want to do this. It does also, different lighting and compositions and styles and all sorts of different things, and people are then uploading those onto their social media platforms. It markets itself on its website as the world's first AI photographer. I had a big issue with that, because it's not photography, it's not exposing a light-sensitive medium to light, so that was my first issue. And it says you don't need a photographer anymore. That's how they're marketing themselves. Okay? I looked at some of the images, and my first thought was, you absolutely need a photographer. They're not great, but people love it. People don't care that it looks ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know. That's the way the world is at the moment. I always think to myself, why are you taking these photos? So it might replace things like the free collaborations that people are asking for. If it does that, I'll give it 5 stars. Fantastic. If it replaces people messaging me saying, I want to do a collaboration, I'll give you a shout out on Instagram. If it replaces that, I'm all for these. It's fantastic. Okay? So that's, I'll forgive it for the horribly inaccurate descriptions on its website. What's next? I strongly believe companies like Apple, Meta, Google, these big players are going to enter the market in a massive way. Okay, Meta's already doing things, and when you think about it, we've been training platforms like social media for years and years and years. We've been providing images, and we've been providing text-based captions, and they own those. We've agreed to the terms and conditions. So we've been training Meta's AI for a really, really long time, when you think about it. And the more accurate your captions have been on Instagram, the better it is for their AI. Okay? So Instagram, in the not too distant future, is going to introduce an AI feature that allows you to modify photos through text prompts and post them on Instagram stories. Okay, so in the next 6 months, that will happen. Okay, so you can take a photo that you've already taken, you can upload it, and you can tell the AI chatbot how you want it to get edited. Make it brighter, make it more sunny, make it look like it was raining, whatever you want it to do, and Instagram's going to edit that for you. And then you upload it to stories. Meta is coming out with its own image generation marketplace or platform, whatever you want to call it. It's called Make a Scene. Okay, it will make a scene. Its point of difference is you can use hand sketches or sketches involved in the prompts as well, so not just text-based prompts. I really think these bigger corporations are going to make a huge impact into this space, and it'll become so common for people to create images artificially, for good or for bad. Depends how you sit with it. Okay. In the short term, there's going to be a lot of disruption, confusion, difference of opinion. Even in this room, I'm sure there's a lot of people that have different opinions on AI, and to an extent, probably some fear. It's becoming really difficult to determine a lot of the time what's been modified, what's been created, what's a real image, what's artificial. In my opinion, it's just important to stay up to date with what's happening. Okay, and this is something I'll talk about later as well. Start authenticating your genuine photographic images so that you can prove that they're real. Okay. How do we do that? How do you prove that your photos are real? Or how does somebody else, or how do you prove that somebody else's photo isn't real? Or how do you prove it might have been artificially generated? For me, this is my advice. Always shoot in RAW. All right? And always keep the RAW file. Never delete your RAW. Delete the RAW files are the ones that you don't want, but the photos that you're editing and the photos that you're posting, the photos that you like, always keep your RAW files. Someone can screenshot your photo, but they can never take your metadata, your RAW file, okay? Unless they take your hard drive, then they've taken your RAW file. But always keep your RAW files. We're going to talk a little bit about how I'm starting to use NFTs and blockchain to do this as well, to authenticate, including RAW file data. There's a content authenticity initiative. It must be good because when you get Canon and Nikon agreeing on something, it must be good. And there's a lot of big publications, Reuters, these sort of publications that are incorporating this as well, using the embedded metadata from people's cameras to authenticate whether images are real or fake. It's got the challenge because once things get edited multiple times, it becomes harder to do this. But if you're submitting something for photojournalism, you won't be able to get around this anymore. Okay. They're looking, especially the publications, they're really looking for the integrity of images, so they don't get caught out like that one of the Pentagon. They don't get caught out sharing images that are not real. Okay. So especially for photojournalism, but it will have relevance for everyone if you're using a Nikon camera or a Canon camera. And the other thing you can do is capture supporting content. So take video and photo at the same time. You can always prove that you were there. Okay. So the newer Nikons, you can use an HDMI output to an external screen, capture video at exactly the same time that you're taking your photos. No one can ever deny that you took that photo if you've got screen recording or video recording of exactly the same moment. All right, we might have a 15-minute timeout and have a cup of coffee or a tea or something, and if anyone wants to fire any questions, go for it. Otherwise, we'll have a short toilet break, and what time is it? 6:30, yeah, 10, 15 minutes.
Excuse me, hello, excuse me, whoever didn't register at the reception, please register that you can get your certificate at the end of the lecture.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, good. Well, no, it's interesting, but you know what I really feel? Don't have this joy when you wake up at sunrise and just go and shoot, you know? It's just very enjoyable. When you
It's
do it
not
on
the
your
same.
desk,
It's not the same. Yeah.
It's more art. But it still feels like creamy. You
Yeah.
feel that.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel textured, it feels like there's cream. I don't know.
But it will get better and better.
Definitely, this better version.
But it doesn't have the same, and I say this at the end. Why are people doing it?
Why?
Like,
Interesting question, you know?
why are you taking photo? Why are you taking video? If you don't love it, don't do it. It's a shit job if you hate taking photos. Being a photographer would be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Like, why would you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning?
True.
Fuck, go and do something else. You earn more money. Don't do it. So if you are so upset about people creating the photos,
Yeah.
it doesn't make
it's
sense.
just crazy.
Do it
They
for
use it
your
for
yeah, 100%. How you going?
How are you?
Good.
I have a Nikon D810.
Yep.
So do you think it's till now a good camera? I have to change.
D810, amazing camera, to be honest. DSLR. My favorite camera still, if I'm being honest, for photos is D850. So the one up from D810. The reason I swapped to mirrorless is because two reasons. Weight. For me, the weight became a big thing. So traveling with all the lenses, they're so much lighter. Well, three things actually. The newer lenses are all going to be mirrorless now. So they're not going to make DSLR lenses anymore. But if you've got lenses that you love, it's not a big problem. The newer technology is all going to go into mirrorless cameras.
Yes.
So the autofocus and these things. The other reason I changed, to be honest, 5 years ago, my lenses got stolen in Istanbul. So it was an easy decision. I didn't have the problem of
Yes.
thinking I had to
Changing.
sell and this sort of thing.
Yes.
Someone did that for me. But the newer mirrorless cameras are actually, I don't need to-
Amazing.
I was just making sure you were back because I didn't see you out there. So I was just saying to him we can start any time.
Yeah.
So
1 minute.
no.
And make sure you have
So you want to finish around 20 past 7?
I mean 20 past or 15 past.
Okay.
Everything including questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we might keep going just because a little bit. We've got through most of it, but I do want to get through the other things and leave a little bit of time for questions as well. So it's really nice. I chatted to a few people out there, and there's some people that have started using some of the different tech, and other people that are going to go home today and test it out, which is really nice to hear. So feel free to give me that feedback if you are using it or interested in using it. If you need any help at all, you can always reach out to me on Instagram or on WhatsApp. So feel free to message me and get any advice that you want. So we've covered the big topic of AI, but I do want to touch briefly on augmented reality and virtual reality. So virtual reality and augmented reality are a little bit different, but they have also sort of entered the discussion recently as well, especially with Apple coming out with their new device that's launching soon. So virtual reality involves creation of a really unique user experience. When we're creating virtual reality, we're creating a completely artificial environment or completely artificial space. In comparison, augmented reality relies on us seeing our environment around us and adding artificial elements to it. So augmented reality is a bit more like Pokemon Go or something like that, or Snapchat where you add the dog ears or the dog tongue or something like that. So you've got an environment and you're adding digital elements to it. Virtual reality, completely virtual experience. Okay, it can be based on real life, but as you're seeing it, it's completely virtual. To do that, you can use 360-degree cameras to create that environment. So you can capture something like this room right now, and we could turn that into a virtual reality experience. Or you've got architects, graphic designers or architects that are creating these virtual spaces. VR and probably AR are really pitched at quite a young audience. So the people I talk to, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old gamers especially, they love this sort of stuff. They completely understand it. It makes total sense to them. When I talk to older people about it, no, the headsets are too much trouble. They give me a headache. These sort of things. Younger people these days are really obsessed with this type of content, especially when it involves things like gaming. So the potential for user engagement and gamification is massive. So that's where things like Pokemon Go did take off. The current limitation at the moment is access to things like the headsets. So you've got things like this, which Oculus headsets or different brands of headsets, and that adoption to the technology. So I really think it is a watch this space. I think what Apple's bringing out will be majoritively augmented reality based to begin with. But I am a big believer in what's happening in this space. And I think in 10 years' time, remember I said this, the evolution of what Apple's doing with their device that sits in front of your eyes is going to be extremely normal and not what comes out early next year. Okay? So people say to me, I can't imagine an environment where people would walk around with something in front of their face. But if you go and talk to a lot of people at the moment, they'll sit there with a device in front of their face, and it's quite socially acceptable. We could have a conversation right now, and we could be talking, and both of us could be looking at our phone screens at the same time, sending WhatsApp messages, and we're talking. And that's perfectly acceptable. 10 years ago, if I did that, my mother would be horrified. Yeah? But it's become a social norm now to have a device in front of our face and still be having a conversation with someone when you think about it. It sounds ridiculous now that I tell you that, but when you go home tonight, I'll go home and I'll talk to my wife and she'll probably be sitting there looking at her phone. Okay? And it'll be quite normal. Which is it a sad reflection of where we're at? Possibly, but it's the way things are moving. So to have a device in front of our faces, that's augmented, so we can still see each other, but there are things popping up at the same time. Will be quite normal. Yeah, so that's what Apple's bringing out. Okay, and it will become as normal as what the iPhone has become to us. That's my prediction. Oh, something going on with this. So where is the use of things like virtual reality and augmented reality? Virtual galleries are one thing. So this became quite popular during COVID. Okay, so you couldn't go and see galleries. So people would create these galleries using their digital images and creating these virtual galleries. So Sami Olabi, a Dubai-based photographer, did an amazing virtual gallery, okay, of his astro shots. Really quite incredible. You could put a headset on, or you could use it on a tablet or a computer, and you could stroll through his gallery as if you were walking through it in sort of a three-dimensional way. These sort of things are becoming more and more possible. So you could go and visit things in other places. Al Ula in Saudi has done something similar to this. So you can go and visit some of their exhibits and artifacts artificially or remotely using VR technology. Okay, it opens it up to people that can't travel there, and it also means that you can visit sites that are perhaps environmentally sensitive, that they don't want thousands of people walking through, but are still significant for people to see. Okay, it really does create this ability to display and view images in a really unique way. Okay. Augmented reality is a little bit different. So think Pokemon Go and Snapchat filters. We can still see everything. Okay, there's just digital elements that are getting added to it or overlaying the real world that we can see. It's already in quite common use, even in photography. So I use this a lot. I use it in. Does anyone use photo pills? Yeah, if you don't use it, I won't be offended if you download that app while I'm giving this lecture. It's probably the app that I use the most in photography. It's an incredible app. If you want to plan out photo shoots with moons and Milky Ways and sunsets and sunrises, use photo pills. You can use it for, like here, this is the night AR view. So you can plan a certain location and use the AR overlay of the Milky Way, or the moon, or the sun, or whatever you want to photograph, and you can work out exactly where that Milky Way is going to be at a certain period of time during the night. Is it going to be an arch? Is it going to be vertical? Is it going to be diagonal through my frame? So if I'm standing here and my subject is there, where is the Milky Way going to be? This is really inconvenient if you turn up to shoot the Milky Way somewhere and the Milky Way's out there. All right? That kind of ruins your 4 a.m. photo shoot. So it's really easy to go there during the day even and see where that Milky Way is going to be. In fact, it's extremely convenient to go there during the day and work out where do I not want to step in the dark. Okay, there's a big cliff there. I don't want to walk there. I want to stand here and the Milky Way is going to be there. I use it a lot for things like hyperfocal distance. Okay, so if you're shooting landscape and you want your subject and the moon to both be in focus, how deep into your frame do you need to set your focus point? Okay, even if you can work out on a chart or using photo pills that the hyperfocal distance is 50 meters in front of you. Where is that 50 meters? You know, you can roughly estimate I can kick a football 50 meters or something like that, but you can use AR. And you can look through your phone screen, you can look at your feet, and it'll go 1 meter, 2 meter, out to 50 meters, and there'll be a blue line where in your real world where that 50 meters is and where that hyperfocal distance is. And you know if you focus on something just beyond that, everything in your frame is going to be acceptably in focus. If you focus 10 meters closer towards you, your moon is going to be out of focus. Okay? So it becomes a really important tool when you're planning and executing your photo shoots.
So I just have a question. Is this the same application as the photo pills?
In photo pills. It's got both of them. Yeah. Yeah, really, really useful. Super useful. Okay? It's got, it's got 1,000 other features in photo pills. I really love it. Really, really neat app. Google Maps now using AI. I don't know if anyone's used if you put it in, look something up, put it into, get your directions in and choose to walk, and you just tap live, okay? It comes up and you look at your screen and it's in AR. So you see everything and it's telling you where to turn and where to go, how far you need to make a turn and that sort of thing. You don't need to sit there and look at the map and turn like this and this sort of thing. You can literally look through your camera and it will tell you where you need to, turning down this street, walking down this street in live view and with AR, which is quite cool. Okay, in photography, it's probably got a lot of applications in things like fashion, product and real estate photography. Okay, so people can go and overlay digital aspects to content that real estate photographers or fashion photographers are using. Okay, this is a topic that I got a lot of questions about probably 12 months ago. Things have moved on to AI at the moment, but this was certainly the buzz topic 12 months ago to 18 months ago, 2 years ago. NFTs and the blockchain. Fortunately, a lot of the hype has died down around this. I'm planning to use it a lot more now that the negative stigma is starting to go out of it, and the actual application of it is still quite relevant. Both of these images have been sold as NFTs. One sold for millions, one sold for not so much. One's mine, the other one isn't. Okay, so this is one of these Bored Apes, and when people think of NFTs, they think of this. Yeah? If I say NFTs, most people think of cartoon JPEGs and scams and these sort of things. This is what people think of. This one was also sold as an NFT. Okay, so I sold this image as an NFT. What is an NFT? So if you break down NFT, non-fungible token, fungible just means something of known value. So a $100 bill is $100. If we both have 100 dirhams, both of those 100 dirham notes are worth exactly the same. If you give me yours and I give you mine, nothing happens. They're both 100 dirhams. Yeah? So that means that's fungible. They hold known tokens. They're not really unique. They might have different barcodes, but they're not unique in value. Something becomes non-fungible when it is unique and tradable. So something like a Rolex, I'm not going to use mine, it's not a Rolex, but something like a Rolex watch, you might have a certain price for it, and I might disagree on that. And we might go back and forth. We can't do that with a $100 bill. $100 is $100. Okay? That non-fungible element comes in when you might say, I think it's worth 100,000 dirhams, I say it's worth 80,000 dirhams. Yeah, okay. I'll sell it for 80,000 dirhams. Okay, it's now non-fungible, quite tradable and unique. The difference between your Rolex watch and the one I just sold to him is yours might be more worn, and the one I sold to him was quite new. So yours is 50,000, but that one was 80,000 dirhams. Same brand, same watch, but different. Whereas those $100 bills are exactly the same. The token element of that is just a digital contract of ownership. So it's a digital token that exists on the blockchain. It's a non-fungible token. Digital certificate of ownership, if you want to call it that, authentication for an asset backed by the blockchain. This blockchain, it's essentially a database of information sharing. It's a foundation of cryptocurrency. The way that it works is if you think of something that's centralized, like a news station, you're relying on that one news station to verify the information that it's giving you. The way something like the blockchain works is you've got millions of computers all around the world all verifying the same thing at exactly the same time. So if we use an example of the World Cup again, if we use the blockchain to verify it and we said Ronaldo scored the goal in the World Cup, and we have 10 million computers around the world all saying Ronaldo scored the goal in the World Cup, it's extremely likely that Ronaldo scored that goal. One of those computers might say it was Messi that scored the goal, but the other 9,999,999 all say it was Ronaldo. So it's quite verifiable that it was Ronaldo. If, on the other hand, with a centralized system, that news outlet got it wrong, the news outlet reporting it said Messi scored the goal, everyone now believes that Messi scored the goal. Okay? It's a lot less verifiable. That's the way the blockchain worked. The blockchain wasn't created or started to sell cartoon images. Okay? It didn't come about to create these Bored Ape NFTs or anything like that. Okay? NFTs can represent almost any asset. It's just a way of digitally doing that. Okay? It doesn't have to be digital itself. That's really important. So how do they work? These contracts of ownership, smart contracts, they're minted, that's what the word that's used for it, onto the blockchain. One of the great things about the blockchain, once that's done, it's irreversible. Okay? You can't erase something from the blockchain. Once it's on there, millions of computers verify it all at the same time, and it can't be undone. You can't say, oops, I didn't want to do that. It's done. Okay? Which is a good thing. Anyone can view when it was minted, who minted it, who owns it, who has sold it. The transfer of ownership is very transparent. Yep, that makes sense. The only thing that isn't open is owners are represented by their wallet IDs. So there is some level of anonymity. There are ways that people hack into who owns certain wallets, but for the most part, unless you want to, you don't have to reveal your exact identity, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing. Okay. NFTs can be basically assigned to anything that's considered to hold value. Anything. It can be a physical thing, it can be a digital thing, it can be memberships to communities, it can be loyalty reward cards, Emirates Skywards, for example. It can be physical assets, it can be watches, sporting memorabilia, artwork. There's an amazing company that's doing stuff with sporting memorabilia in the US, and they're using augmented reality and NFTs on the blockchain to sell, NFL helmets and these sort of things. Really quite smart use of the technology. They can be digital assets. So, in gaming, this is why the blockchain started in the first place. If anyone is interested in the history of it, the guy that, I shouldn't say the blockchain, the Ethereum blockchain was started by a Ukrainian guy because the games that he was obsessed with, he'd spend all these hours accumulating these assets, shields, and I'm not a gamer, so I can't share the excitement, but accumulating these shields and swords and weapons and all sorts of things in a game, and then the game changed or upgraded, and he lost his assets. He's extremely upset. So he decided there should be a system where if I earn these assets, I own them, and the game can't take them away from me. They should be on an open source system that's verified that says I own them. If I want to sell them to you, that's my decision, not the game's. So he created the Ethereum blockchain. Everything cascaded from that, but it was from a gamer. Okay, so it can be digital assets, it can be things like title deeds. I think in the future, things like title deeds will be recorded on the blockchain, because it doesn't make sense in 2023 that the most expensive thing you buy, the contract of it is on a piece of paper that could get burnt, lost, stolen. It doesn't really make a lot of sense in 2023. Okay, how do NFTs work? I'm going to go quickly so we have time for questions. They're bought and sold on cryptocurrency or NFT exchange platforms using cryptocurrency. You can use fiat US dollars these days. A lot of the platforms do support it. Those platforms charge a commission. It requires gas fees to do it, and the original owner, whoever mints it in the first place, does receive royalties every single time it gets sold in the future, which is a nice thing for creators. This is a question I get asked all the time. Aren't they all scams? Absolutely. A lot of the projects, early days with these PFPs or cartoons or profile pictures were scams or had very limited value, and people spent a lot of money on them, and most of them failed. Some do have, real world sort of benefits. One that I like in Dubai is this ArtStyle. It's a really great community that operates in the space. But this term utility got thrown around a lot, and people made up these utilities for reasons that you should buy these NFT projects. And most of these utilities had zero value, to be honest. But NFTs were being used, NFTs, okay? These digital tokens were being used long before this cultural explosion in 2021. Okay? It wasn't a new thing. It just became extremely popular and extremely lucrative for people to make money out of other people. Okay? But like I said before, it wasn't created to sell these silly pictures. Not silly, but depending on your opinion. There's a lot more real-world applications of the blockchain, okay, that will get used in the next 10 years. It will become so normal in the next 10 years. People will buy NFTs, but we won't think of them as NFTs. They'll just be digital tokens. They'll become quite normal to buy and sell them. And we'll probably have wallet apps on our phone, and we won't ever say, I bought an NFT for this. Same as we don't say, I'm going to log on to the World Wide Web to find this. We just do it, or we log on to the net or something like that. Okay, we won't use that sort of that sort of terminology. Okay, there's social impact implications, membership reward programs, and the big one for us, authentication of artwork. Okay, can photos be NFTs? Absolutely. Photos can represent an NFT. So a photo can be the face of an NFT, or the way I like to use them, NFTs can represent photos. Okay, so it's a digital asset that represents some sort of ownership of that image. When this cultural explosion of NFTs happened, a lot of photographers jumped on board and sold NFTs without much consideration at all about what happened or any clarification to the people buying them. What have you actually bought? Do you own the image? Do you receive a physical copy? Do you even, or just this low-res screenshot JPEG? And what can you do with the NFT? Okay, so a lot of people made a lot of money selling them, but there wasn't really a lot of explanation of what people had bought. Okay, this is another NFT that I did sell. When I sold my NFTs, I didn't want to sell them just as a quick, money-making exercise. My main goal of selling images is for people to have them up on their wall. If you like one of my photos enough to buy it, I'd like you to at least enjoy it. Okay? So when I sold any of my NFTs, I gifted that person who bought it a physical copy of it. All right? Because I didn't see the value in that person just buying a digital JPEG. It didn't make any sense to me. All right? So I gifted them. That was part of the deal of when they bought it. And the other thing that I did that was a little bit unique is the people that bought my NFTs, I also gifted them 50% of the image rights. Okay? Which you don't need to do, but the blockchain allows you to do that. So if I sold that image subsequently to somebody else, 50% of the profit would go to the first person that bought it as an NFT. The reason I did that is if you like that image enough to be the first person that bought it, I like to think that you should share in the future profits of it. Okay, so that was something that I did with those NFTs. So I looked at it more as a marketing tool and a way of rewarding people that were buying prints that I had. The other really big reason that I like the technology behind it is not so much selling NFTs or photos of NFTs. I don't see that as a hugely sustainable thing. What I like is the opportunity for provenance or authentication. Okay, so at the moment, a lot of people use certificates, printed certificates that they might sign. Those often just get lost, or people see them as something that they don't need to keep. A lot of people stick them on the back of the image, but what I like to do is to use the blockchain for that now. Okay, so especially in this world that we're living in, that we talked about, where there's so much AI-generated content, or right-click, paste content. People can just screenshot things these days. I want to be able to certify the images that I'm taking. When you're using the blockchain, you can do things like attach the raw file data. So someone looks at that photo, someone buys that photo, and I'm saying, you're the first one that bought that photo, or you're buying that photo. I'm saying it's a real photo. Embedded in that smart contract is the raw file data that I took with it. Okay? So you can always verify that that was a photographic image. You can create one of one, so you can only sell one, or you can create editions of multiple copies. So that's what I've done with a lot of my images, and sold the first one as the main one. You can attach NFTs to physical pieces of artwork. So a lot of places are doing that with existing art, and that's what I'm doing with the prints that I'm giving people. Okay, so each print that I sell to someone, whether they want it or not, comes with an NFT attached to it. If they don't want it, it just sits in a custodial wallet that they can get any time that they want, but it does sit there as my certificate of authentication. Okay, so using the blockchain, ownership of a photo. When you purchase it, this is the big thing that people didn't really understand when NFTs went around last year and the year before. When you purchase an NFT, you're not purchasing the photo. Okay, you're purchasing a digital token. Very different things. You're not purchasing any image rights. You're not purchasing the photographic rights. You don't own. If you bought an NFT of my image, you don't own the photo. I own the photo. I always own the photo. Whoever presses the shutter on the camera owns the photo. Okay? It does get a little bit complicated when you have people in the photo. I own the photo, but I don't own the rights to monetize that photo. Does that make sense? I own the photo, but I can't sell it without his permission. Yeah? So this particular photo, I knew this guy quite well. He wanted a copy of the photo, which I gave to him, and he signed a release, and he owned 50% of that photo with me. Okay, so when it sold as an NFT, he took 50% of that. If it ever sells again and again and again, he makes money out of that, because I can't sell it without his permission. I said, I'm not selling it, I'm not just getting you to sign it that I can sell it. You are in it, you share in the profits as well. Okay? But it's important to understand that usage rights and ownership rights are not the same thing. Okay? So you own the photo, but you don't own the rights to sell the photo if there's somebody in it. And the same thing can happen with certain buildings. But a lot of people thought when they bought these NFTs that they owned the images. I own an image by this photographer. You don't. You own an NFT. Okay? And a lot of people did get confused about them. The great things with NFTs and smart contracts is you can do exactly that. You can do splitting of ownership. So if there's somebody in the photo, or you want to split the ownership with the person that buys the photo, or anything else, you can do that digitally as well. So it creates this opportunity to really diversify the way that you're selling your images. If you're interested in things like blockchain, I'd definitely do a little bit of research. There's communities around, and there's communities that are a lot more art focused. Okay, don't join these communities that are just interested in selling these JPEGs. Join some of the art focused ones, and there's quite a few of them in Dubai, 2 or 3 really, really good ones. And I always say to people, what are you trying to do with the images? Okay, with everything in photography, you need to put the work in. This isn't just a get-rich-quick, NFTs are here, I'm going to sell as many images as I can as NFTs. It doesn't work. It did for some people, but it's not a sustainable thing to do. You still need to put the work in, okay? I'd advise getting a basic understanding of things like crypto and the blockchain. Talk to some smart contract developers about how it suits your style of photography, because what you want to do with your photos is very different to what I want to do with my photos, quite possibly. Okay? Learn from other people's mistakes. I made quite a few when I first started playing around with it. Okay? So there's different things to do and different ways to do it, and some of them are just ways to lose money rather than to make money. But I sold quite a lot of Dubai fog images. And now I'm looking more at selling some of the travel images that I've taken over years and years and years. Okay, start networking, meetups, groups, communities, that sort of thing. And this is very generic. It doesn't just hold true to NFTs and the blockchain. It holds true to whatever you're wanting to do with your photography. Build your brand. Your brand as a photographer. If you're wanting to make money out of images, think yourself as a brand. Okay, what's your point of difference? Who's your audience? Who are you trying to talk to? Who are you looking to sell photos to? Don't just fall into this trap of thinking I'm going to make some money quickly. Everyone else is doing it. I need to do it. If it doesn't suit what you're doing, that you don't need to worry about it. It's a real balance between your consistency as an artist and adapting to any change. Okay, I always think I put almost because sometimes images get sold that I don't think are necessarily that high quality, but quality almost always prevails. Okay. Okay, last little section: photography in the near future. So what does the future outlook look like for photography? That's a fake image too, but that's AI. What does it look like for photography? How should I change, or how should you change, or how should we change with these sort of developments? I always say to people, why are you taking photos in the first place? Okay, the people who are really getting threatened by things like AI, I say to them, why are you taking photos in the first place? If you don't really love photography, it's not a great thing to stress yourself over. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and chase sunrises if you don't really love it. There are easier ways to earn money, trust me, than going and shooting sunrise photos. Okay? It doesn't make financial sense to do that to yourself. It's a really, sadistic thing to do to yourself. Okay? So if you're not doing it for the right reasons, don't do it. And if you are, don't be threatened. There's no need to be threatened by people creating things through AI and those sort of things. It's not necessary. So who are the photos for? Are they for you, personal portfolios and passion? This is me most of the time. Okay? The best photos I take are the ones that I enjoy taking. All right? I don't enjoy taking, product photography and food photography especially. The best photos I take are the ones that I really enjoy taking. Okay? So this is the sort of stuff that I'll always go and take photos of. No matter what anyone does with technology, no matter what AI comes out, no matter what blockchain changes there are, it doesn't matter. I'll always go and chase travel photos. Okay? And I'll always go and chase, moments like these ones, going to remote places, seeing different people, having experiences related to photography. Okay? And that will never change, no matter what camera I'm using, no matter what developments come out. That will always stay exactly the same. Okay? I was a little bit nervous when these guys were holding my Z7 and the 70-200, but they loved it. And for me, that's things that you never forget. And technology can't ever replace that. Okay, someone could create an AI image of that, but it'll never replace going there and taking the photo yourself. And that's a really big part of it for me. So the industry is going to change and adapt regardless of what I say here today, and regardless of what anyone in this room thinks about it. If you don't like it, it's still going to happen, unfortunately. Okay. It doesn't matter, really what everyone's different opinion is. So you can choose to, stay consistent with your own style, stay quite static, don't change, ignore it, keep doing exactly what you're doing. You can be more reactive and adapt to the change, or you can try and be quite proactive and predict what's going to change. So the people that are really, really successful in content creation do that. They're not thinking 2023, I need to become a YouTuber. That was 2013. Okay, they're thinking, what's going to happen in 2028, 2029, that sort of thing. Okay. Personally, I think it's a bit of a combination of the above. If you're in this space to, especially to make money or to grow or something like that. So you can, I think you can allow that technology to change a little bit of what you're doing without really compromising your own photography or your own style. The keys for me is to identify your own brand. What's your voice? Who is your audience? How do you communicate it? How do others view your brand? So for me, when people think about me as a photographer, if they're follow me on Instagram or something like that, I'd like them to think of photos like this. Okay, he travels around the world and he takes, photos of, unique populations of people combining, humans in their landscape and this sort of thing. Okay, so develop your own style and your own brand, even if you're just doing it as a passion or as a hobby. Okay, it can be as simple as the social media footprint that you have, or as complex as your branding as a commercial photographer. The technology, it can be your friend. It's making your life easier. It can be your enemy. It's creating a distraction, stress, and confusion. Okay? You don't have to use every single change that comes along, but my takeaway is, as for what it's worth, you can accept change, embrace change, or choose to fight change. They're your options. When you choose to fight it, you need to accept that you might not win. Okay? So that technological change is going to happen. You can accept it. It's going to happen. It doesn't change what I'm going to do. It's going to happen anyway. I'm not worried about it. You can embrace it. You can take some things of what we've talked about today and go home and make a few little changes. Or you can fight it. I wouldn't choose that one. Okay? If you don't like it, I'd choose that one. Okay? Because I don't think it's a fight you're necessarily going to win. Okay? For me, I always hope and I always think people see photography as something that they'll enjoy as a passion. So they'll keep traveling around the world wanting to take photos for that reason. For me, AI, whatever, NFTs will never replace this sort of thing. Okay? Traveling to places and taking those photos. So don't feel threatened that AI is going to come along and replace your passion. All right? That's my insight into future tech. So I hope it sort of peeled back a few layers of what's happening in tech at the moment. It's not all AI bots coming to take our jobs yet. It's not, it doesn't have to be scary or intimidating, and there are lots of ways that we can embrace the technology as photographers to make our lives easier. I mean, if technology comes along that makes my life easier to edit photos, I am all for that, because it gives me more time to go out and take photos. Okay? It takes me much, much, much longer to edit photos than it does to take them. If technology comes along that makes it easier, like the AI that I showed you, that makes it easy for me to plan photos and plan photo shoots, I'm all for that, because I can spend more time taking photos. Okay? I'm not going to go out and say I don't need to take photos anymore. I can just create it artificially. I love taking photos. But I'll use the tech to make my life easier. Okay? If anyone's got any questions, yeah, you can fire away.
Okay, I have two quick questions. What's your take on photography is art or content creation? Because you mentioned Mona Lisa, and Mona Lisa is art. My perspective is art is time-proof.
Yep.
And the other question, what's the difference between NFTs and licensing your work, like in a stock footage website?
Yep. So the first question was photography as art or content creation. Content creation is a bit of a buzzword anyway, really. It's come around the last 5 years, and everything falls into content creation. If you talk to marketing companies these days, everything's content creation. We need content. We need content creators. We need, this sort of thing. In its purest form, photography will always be art. That doesn't necessarily have to be traditional or fine art. I still think those digital images, those highly composited digital images, are still art. It's just a digital art form. So I think if you are doing photography for the right reasons, you'll always see it as art. You might look to monetize it as content creation, but I think the biggest mistake, and I've made this mistake so many times, the biggest mistake so many people make at the moment is to take photos to post on social media, which is kind of a trap to fall into. Because there's a lot of photos that I've taken that I look back from 3 years ago and think, oh, I wish I had taken that pano or landscape. But I took it vertical because I thought that'll make a cool Instagram photo. And I shouldn't have, because that went up on social media and no one cares about it now, to be honest. Not many people, care about it. Whereas if I had taken it differently, I could have sold it as a print or something like that. So it's a trap. Like I've done it so many times. So I probably shouldn't preach about it because I've made mistakes so many times. But I like to think that I can learn and other people can learn from those mistakes. So view it as much as you can as an art form. But the content creation is, unfortunately, in 2023, the way to monetize it.
My only concern, when I see this AI-generated art, I don't feel anything.
No.
Art
Well,
makes me feel
so
something.
I don't like.
It's supposed to be like
So I don't like calling AI art because there was no human involvement in creating it.
Exactly.
For me, art needs a human involvement. So even that digital art is controlled and generated by a human. Once we allow artificial technology to do it, I don't like calling that art. People call it art, but for me, it's not art. I call it image creation. It's an image, sure, but I personally don't like. Other people can argue with that, and it doesn't worry me, but my personal opinion is AI is not art, and I would never buy it for that reason. I'm not. If someone said I disagree with you, that's fine. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, so thank you. This was an exciting session.
My pleasure.
NFTs. Now, I understood NFTs. And at the same time, you post your images on Getty, Shutterstock. People buy them, download them, as a high res or whatever for whatever reasons. Mm-hmm. So, what are the salient differences between these two?
Yeah.
They look similar.
Touch on your question
similar
as well.
to it, yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways, infinite number of ways to sell images, right? You can sell them as digital images, you can sell them as prints, you can sell them to publications. You can do whatever you want with them. No one can decide that. I use things like NFTs as a way of authenticating those images, and it'll be for images that I'm wanting to create a set number of them for. So if I choose this image and I want to sell 50 copies of it as prints, limited edition, only 50 copies or 20 copies, whatever it might be, I'll create all of those as NFTs. You might buy one of them and you say, Andy, I don't care about NFTs. It's a scam, I don't like it, I'm not interested in it. That's fine. When you buy it, I'll still generate an NFT for it, and it'll just sit in a wallet using your email address. If you ever want it, you can have it. The reason I do that is because the first person that bought it, I need to give them their 50%. And to do that, I need to sell that NFT so that it automatically divides the profit. So what I'm doing when I sell you your physical print, built into the cost of all my physical prints, is the cost of a digital image. You're buying the print, you don't care about it, but you're actually still buying a digital image at the same time. That digital image price is the price that gets split into two. Everything else that you buy is just the cost, the amount that it costs me to get it printed. My only markup is what I've built in as this digital image price. Okay, so I'm only using that to authenticate it, and you might not care about it at the moment, but in 10 years' time, you'll still have that NFT to say that it's yours. I could use a physical COA for exactly the same thing. Absolutely no difference. I'm just utilising the tech to make my life a little bit easier, to make my record keeping a little bit easier, and because a piece of paper can get lost, can get forged. You know, if you want a COA of any image, I can, you know, use AI to generate a piece of paper that says that at the moment. It's very easy to do, whereas it's not easy to do that for an NFT. What can happen, I guess, is if I mint those as NFTs and I'm the first person to mint my photo as an NFT, it becomes almost impossible for somebody else to do it and say that was their image.
Because you have a record in place.
It's recorded. Whereas if I just use a physical piece of paper, somebody else could take the high res of that and say, well, I actually took that photo. That's mine. Why are you selling it? I'll sell it to other people. And then it becomes a he said, she said. You know, do I need to get the raw file? I've minted it on such and such a date with the raw file data embedded there. It's very difficult to, is it foolproof? No. But it adds another layer. So for me, it's that extra layer of, you know, authentication that I'm comfortable with. And I'm a bit of a nerd, so I like using tech a little bit and exploring it. And like I said, I made lots of mistakes with it as well. So I like exploring it, you know, finding out how things work, how it works for me. Not many other people are using it to revenue share with the person who buys it. That's quite unique. Most people are just looking at it to make money. You know, if I sell an image and you buy the first copy of it, I like to think that you really loved it. So you get your physical copy, and we're now going to share in the profits of any subsequent one. The reason I've done that, it's unique. I like rewarding people, and I also like to think you're now invested with me. So you're another voice for me. You're helping to market that image. Someone comes around to your house, so you know, I really love that image. Oh, you should buy a copy of it, because we own it together now. So I used it for a few different reasons.
So if you allow me, just a follow-on question. Now you also said that NFT is a token. Understand? It's not a picture that you know, you're owning. So, like for example, if I were to buy an image from Shutterstock, I actually get to download that and keep that image, use that image for my brochure or something. So how?
The difference is when you buy that off Shutterstock, you're buying image rights. Okay, you're not doing that when you're buying an NFT. People thought that. People thought they owned the rights to use that, but that isn't the case. So
just buy the certificate, sort of.
Not even that. You're just buying a digital token. So what did that mean? I don't know. That's why I gave people a physical copy. If you're buying it, you should have something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So for photography, it didn't make sense for me to sell an NFT. Okay, it made sense for me to sell you a physical copy, and I'm not going to give you the whole image rights. I'd be crazy. Yeah. Crazy. You know, if that photo became really popular, I'd get nothing. So I kept 50. It made no financial sense for me. But no, when you buy it off, a stock image, you don't buy the ownership of that image. Though. Yes. You just buy the right to use that image in a commercial sense. Okay, so it can become a little bit complex, and especially where you have people or copyrighted buildings in those images, it becomes actually quite complex. You know, if those photos from Mongolia that had people in them, if I really love one of those and I want to enter it into a competition where I stand to earn money, am I allowed to do that? Yeah. Not without their permission, I can't. Yes. Any situation where I stand to make financial gain, I can't do that without a model release from the person in it, which becomes extremely difficult if you're traveling to some of the places that I travel, extremely remote, taking photos of people that you don't know and you'll never see again. You know, people in far northeast India aren't really familiar with model release forms. They're not. No internet. No, they're not. You know, it's not important to them. You know, so it can become. And trust me, there's been situations of exactly that where people have taken photos of someone, entered it into a competition, and it's ended up in court. And the photographer doesn't. You own the photo. Okay? Even if you have your camera set up, you do the settings, and someone else walks along and presses the shutter. They own that photo. Legally, whoever presses the shutter owns the photo. Okay? So if someone's taking a really good photo, run in there and just quickly press the shutter really quickly. But it's a real, and to be honest, this world of AI is going to be a legal, I didn't touch on it today because it's far too complicated. This world of AI is going to be a legal nightmare in terms of Adobe using the images on Creative Cloud, but also platforms like Midjourney had to use other people's images to train the AI. They never got permission to use those images. Okay? It's a legal nightmare. And where we've got all this image creation, where nobody owns the images, it adds so much complexity to this whole, if it was complicated before, when you just had to get model releases, it's going to get far more complicated now that you've got all these different variables in play. So, it is a bit of a minefield. People saw NFTs as a bit of the wild, wild west. You can just do what you want and no one's going to care. I don't like that so much. I don't sell photos of people that I don't have their permission to sell. That's just, I don't, It's, I guess, up to the individual. Yeah, it's just, different. But the great thing about NFTs, a lot of photographers really didn't like it. What it does is it opens your opportunity to sell images to people to a completely new and growing audience. Okay, so never look at these things as always 100% bad, even if you don't like it. If you can sell images to different people, it's a great opportunity. Yeah. So I think Yep.
Thank you so much for today's presentation and so on. So I just have two questions regarding the NFTs also. Are videos such as short movies and services, let's say color grading, photo editing, and so on, are considered or can be an NFT?
Yeah, 100%. So people sold. It was. I think it will be a bigger space for especially music artists as well, but certainly video artists. It got really complicated because people sold clips of videos of sports moments. So there was an NBA Top Shots where you could buy 30-second clips of NBA games.
Don't you need permission for that?
The NBA sold it.
Oh, okay.
But I always thought, did the players, when they agreed to be part of it, did they know that they'd be sold as this and this? So the complexity of it is enormous. But to answer the question, anything can be sold as an NFT. To show you how ridiculous this is, this workshop, whoever recorded it for YouTube, could be sold as an NFT. So there were videos of meetings that were sold as NFTs. You could sell a video of anything, or a sound bite of anything. Anything that somebody says has some value to it, because the NFT is just a token. So it can be a watch, it can be a sports highlight, it can be the jersey that the sports person was wearing, it can be a photo, it can be whatever you want it to be. And if someone's happy to buy it, that's up to them. Again, with the videography, if they're buying, what are they buying? Would be my question. Are they buying usage rights, usage rights, the rights to own the video? What's being sold and what's being
But in short movies, for example, there is a huge cruise or something. It can be 50, so you need to take permission for each one of them.
Yeah. So I mean, to go backtrack one little bit, the reason a lot of people sold photos and the reason a lot of people bought them is you're essentially buying into the artist. Does that make sense? So you were buying a digital token, a limited number of digital tokens of that artist. So you were backing that artist would become more popular and that the value of those NFTs would go up, and you could either hold or sell those NFTs. If that makes sense. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes? Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. We would like to take a group photo. If you please would stand and come together, we will take it from here. Come, yeah, you can gather. You can just come to the center. Can you please? No, because we are taking the photo. لا هيك